Stand by to fall in, Polk County. This is today's veteran. Hello and welcome, and on behalf of everyone at the Polk County Office of Veterans Services, thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Bryan Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart. And on this installment of today's veteran, we'll talk dealing with the holiday anxiety and depression with Kevin Croswell, Supervisory Psychologist of Outpatient Psychology Program at the James A. Haley Veterans Affairs Medical Center. We'll also talk Wreaths Across America. In December, Wreaths Across America will be at Florida Veterans Cemetery in Bushnell to remember and honor our veterans through the laying of remembrance wreaths on the graves of our country's fallen heroes and the act of saying the name of each and every veteran aloud. A local company is one of many organizing volunteers and transporting wreaths to be laid at the graves. Joining us in studio is Johnny Chestnutt. He is with Saddle Creek Logistics Services. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
For those that may not know, tell me a little bit about what Saddle Creek Logistics Services is.
Saddle Creek has been here probably 52, 53 years now. It was started by a great man by the name of David Lyons. It started out as a warehousing company. Anything you buy from Sam's Club, we handle it. Gatorade, sugar, it comes through our warehouse. And we also are a trucking company, and we deliver the goods.
And another thing that folks may or may not know, it's an environmentally friendly company. A lot of your trucks are CNG.
We are CNG. We have probably a couple hundred of CNG trucks. And then we have some diesel trucks that works on diesel and CNG, so they're combining it all together.
Now, what is your role with the company, and what have you been doing, and how long have you been there?
I started to work there in 1999, so I'm starting my 20th year. I am a driver for them, deliver goods over to a place called McLean's Warehouse in Kissimmee.
So some maybe 13 to 15 years ago, we haven't pinned it down exactly, but you were introduced to the thing that we're here to talk about today, Wreaths Across America. For those that have never experienced it, what exactly is Wreaths Across America?
Wreaths Across America is a great bunch of people that started a wreath delivering service in Maine, and then they started putting wreaths on veterans' grave at all the national cemeteries. Saddle Creek got involved in it, just like you said, probably 15 years ago by a man by the name of Jack Sellers, who was a Vietnam veteran, and he worked with us in the trucking company. And he was had a motorcycle group, and they went and got involved in it, and we do Bushnell National Cemetery in Bushnell, Florida. And we go to Maine to get the wreaths. They're live wreaths. We bring them down, and we will put them on each soldier's grave December. And it's usually always 2 weeks before Christmas, so it's kind of in a Christmas experience, I guess you would say. And we try to get the children involved. We want to bring the children involved so they can always remember where our freedom come from.
Well, Johnny, I've made the trip up there twice, and the thing that amazes me, and when we talk about these wreaths, we have probably 4 to 6 different trucks that come in from various places, not only just the Lakeland area, but talk about the sheer mass, the size of Bushnell Cemetery itself.
I was looking last night, and I believe it said there's 108 soldiers plus their wives that's buried in there, so it grows every day. They say they have 6 funerals there to add every day, so it grows every day. Walmart helps us a lot up in Brooksville. They have 7 trucks that goes in there, and this past year we had 7 to 8 trucks that went in there. And the first year we done it, 15 years ago, we laid 7 reefs up there, and it was 40 people up there to help us lay them 7 reefs, and it was in a rainstorm. This past December, we laid 28,000 reefs, and they say there was about 1,400 people up there to help us lay them. We laid 28,000 reefs last year within 2 hours.
And I think the thing that what we're talking about is the ride, the motorcycle ride that follows your truck up there. But this isn't necessarily just a motorcycle thing, is it?
No, sir. Last year we had, I think, about 800 to 1,000 motorcycles that left Saddle Creek Corporation. This year we have got too big, so we've had to move it out to Polytech University out beside the interstate. So we will be leaving there that morning at 8 o'clock, going up to Bushnell. And the Florida State Troopers and Polk County Sheriff Departments, they lead us all the way, and it is very safety.
Well, one of the things that I was really impressed with on my rides up there is the way that the communities get involved. When we left the years from Saddle Creek, we would go out the back way up Cumbie and then kind of catch 98. And no matter what community we passed, that community was out there in support. Talk to me a little bit about what this experience means, not only to the people that are on the ride or following the convoy up, but to the communities that are part of it that we pass through.
When we leave Lakeland, we go along upside 98, 471, and we've always got lines of people, especially at your retirement mobile home parks. There's a lot of veterans lives there, I guess, but they're out there on golf carts, standing, waiting for us to come by, waving flags, and it's really an emotional thing. I was never a veteran, but tears will, if you go to Bushnell and see what we do and you leave without a tear in your eye, there is something wrong, because it's very emotional.
Like we said, 13th, 14th year for you. Why did you get involved?
We had a man that worked with us by the name of Jack Sellers. He was a Vietnam veteran. He had a motorcycle club here, and he's the one that started Wreaths Across America in Florida. And he kept asking me to come up there, and since then we've lost him with cancer, and he's buried up there. But he was one of these types. He would start months asking you to come up there, and if you said yes, I'll be there, Jack, and for some reason you wasn't there, he remembered it. And so I went up there the first time, my wife and myself, and just to go up there, and it hit me, and I've been involved in it ever since. And I had the great opportunity to work with Randy that took over for Jack, and we've been to Maine, up there to the headquarters, and there are a great bunch of people up there. And Wreaths Across America has really grown across the United States now.
Well, one of the things I was most impressed with both times at Saddle Creek was the participation of the employees, whether it be the drivers to management. I was introduced to the president one year. Talk about how it is a company-wide movement and the support that the company gives to the program.
This is a company-wide movement. Our founder, David Lyons, was really involved in it. He had 2 to 3 trailers wrapped with Wreaths Across America on them. And it is a volunteer. We don't get no money from nobody except what we ask for. We go out and we work barbecues, car shows, First Friday in Lakeland, and we let the people know what we are, and it's a complete donation. They're $15 per reef, and they are live reefs from Maine. But the company really turns out to help volunteer to work the booths at the First Friday and to support us any way they can.
Johnny, for those that have never been there, the process is you take the wreath off the truck and then you find a grave, you say the individual's name, give a salute, and then lay the wreath. And you said it's a very emotional process. Talk to me a little bit about the first time you went through it.
It is a very emotional. Like you said, we take the wreaths and we ask the people to carry them to the graves and to stand there and remember their name, say their name, and lay the wreaths. And you're not only laying it there for that soldier, but you're laying it there for their family. Many of them veterans that's laying there, their loved ones might be somewhere else and don't never get to visit their grave. So it is an honor to remember them for the freedom that they gave us through their life.
Well, like we said, we got just a little bit of time this year, and like you said, this has grown into a huge event. And Saddle Creek is a very large facility, and there were a lot of motorcycles coming out this year, moving to Florida Poly. Talk to me a little bit about the day and things that we're going to be experiencing that day.
Like I say, we usually start lining the motorcycles up about 5:30 every morning. It starts early. It's a long day. We get in line, and the sheriff department gives us the route that we're taking every year. And kickstands has to go up at 8 o'clock because we are on a time limit. We have to be in the cemetery park by 10 o'clock.
Johnny, I want to thank you for coming in this morning, and I look forward to seeing you on the 15th. I'm going to find you out there, brother.
All you got to do is look for that big Saddle Creek truck with that big American flag on the side of that trailer, and you'll find me, because it is an honor to do it.
This year's ride is scheduled for Saturday, December 15th, and will leave from the Florida Poly campus at 8 a.m. If you need more information on Wreaths Across America, you can look them up on the web at www.wreathsacrossamerica.com and look for the Bushnell event. Now keep in mind, on National Wreaths Across America Day in December, the volunteers will place wreaths on individuals' graves in over 1,200 locations throughout the U.S. with ceremonies at sea and each of the national cemeteries on foreign soil. Here's a look at a previous year's event. Welcome back to Today's Veteran. I'm your host, Bryan Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart. Now, many people can experience the feeling of anxiety or depression during the holiday season. People who already live with a mental health condition should take extra care to tend to their overall health and wellness during this time. Extra stress, unrealistic expectations, or even sentimental memories that accompany the season can be a catalyst for the holiday blues. Joining us in studio is Dr. Kevin Croswell. He's Supervisory Psychologist at James A. Haley Mental Health Division in Tampa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Bryan.
Thank you for making the trip over. A lot of the things that we're going to talk about with the holiday possible depression, we're going to touch base on here shortly. But can you tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of background on the James A. Haley Mental Health Program?
Absolutely. So James A. Haley Mental Health Services is a large service that has both inpatient and outpatient programs. We cover several different counties across Central Florida, and in addition to that, we have a number of generalist clinics, such as the Mental Health Clinic or the Women's Health Center, and in addition, we have a number of specialty programs, such as treating post-traumatic stress disorder, substance use disorder, polytrauma, pain programs, and lastly, we also have a number of outpatient community-based clinics. One is here in Lakeland, another in Brooksville, Newport Richey. So we also have access to services if individuals and veterans can't make it to the main campus in Tampa.
Well, what we're here to talk about today is holiday stress and mental wellness. And what are some of the things that folks should really know about these?
So back a few years ago, the American Psychological Association did a large-scale survey of Americans, really asking different questions about holiday stress, and it had some very interesting findings. First is that a lot of respondents did report that there's increased stress around the holiday season, which really is no surprise. Some of the most common negative reactions that they reported were things like feeling emotional stress and fatigue or being tired. However, at the same time, the vast majority, nearly 80%, also reported positive emotions. Things like feeling happy, joy, love, and high spirits overall towards the holiday season. So there's really a balance of positive and negative reactions. The other interesting finding about this was also that there were some gender differences in how holiday stress affects men and women. And in this particular study, they found that it disproportionately affected more women than men, which kind of makes sense as far as still in the majority of households, women take care of a majority of the preparatory celebrations, decorating, shopping, taking care of things as we get near the holiday season.
Dr. Croswell, we know the holidays can be stressful, but what are some of the most common and biggest holiday stressors that people tend to report?
This is a really good question. So they looked at a number of different possible stressors, but two seem to be the main ones that research suggests most people endorse as they get closer to the holiday season. And this includes lack of time and finances. With lack of time, this really comes around the idea that in addition to all your normal stressors of work and balancing family life, in addition to this, there are things like shopping, preparing meals, travel, and all the additional time demands as we get closer to the holidays. And regarding finances, a lot of people report a tendency to want to make the holiday special, and so there's an urge to overspend or to impulse buy so that they can do their shopping and try to make it really great for their kids or family members, which sometimes gets them into a little bit of financial troubles.
What are some of the ways that folks usually deal with holiday stress?
So, unfortunately, a large number of individuals report that they engage in sedentary behaviors, which really means that inactive types of behaviors to cope with the stress. And some examples include watching more TV than usual, overeating or comfort eating, sleeping more than usual, and in some cases, increased alcohol use. And so the topic today that we're discussing is really important because we want to have some healthy ways that really help manage some of that stress without resorting to some of these behaviors that may actually have unintended consequences of additional stress down the road.
So let's talk healthy recommendations for folks to really kind of deal with the holidays and the things that come with it, if you would.
Okay. So I'd like to go over 3 main points and then maybe give a couple of examples of each. So the 3 points would be planning ahead for the holidays, engaging in healthy habits during the holidays, and managing expectations for yourself and for others. So first, starting off with planning ahead. This is a really important part of really being able to manage stress, particularly with time demands as well as financial demands. And so planning ahead, some examples of this are things like setting a budget. So knowing ahead of time how much money you can reasonably spend on family members and friends and on gifts, and then also having a limit per person of how much you want to spend. Another part about, really around this is planning ahead for shopping. So one of the biggest increased time demands is making the time or finding the time to shop in addition to work or taking care of the family. And so some options of online shopping or even carving out time earlier in your schedule, say in November or early December, to really get that shopping done so there's not quite the same time crunch. And then finally, with that, it's also meal preparation. So a lot of times in the traditional sense, mom or grandma would spend the whole day before as well as the morning.
What are you talking about? My family started like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right. They'd spend 2 days of preparation just to get everything ready. And for some people that still works. But for a lot of modern families where 2 parents are working or you just don't have the time to be able to spend to that, what's become a more and more affordable option is catering. So there's a large number of local restaurants or even supermarkets now that offer affordable pricing so that if a person or family doesn't have the time to be able to prepare for that, that they can still have a good, reasonable option for them. And that helps, again, reduce some of the financial or the time demands on them as they get closer to the season.
So we hit all 3 of those now. Let's talk a little bit about veterans that have harder times with the holidays. Kind of be especially difficult for some veterans dealing with PTSD or depression. What do you recommend that they do? What should they be doing? What shouldn't they be doing?
So this is really important, and I'm glad that you brought this up. We want to make sure not to overgeneralize. So there's a lot of veterans that are doing great. But for some veterans who may be dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder or depression, the holiday season can be particularly hard for them. And some of the reasons for that is because they may have been downrange during holiday seasons before, or they may have lost friends in combat or battle. And so the holiday season can serve as either anniversary or reminders of some very painful experiences. And for folks who have PTSD or depression, they may want to avoid reminders or avoid talking about some of these things. And so what ends up happening is some folks may not want to go shopping, they may not want to go out into large crowds, or they may even avoid holiday celebrations altogether just because it's so difficult for them to deal with. And so in those instances, if you or someone that you know as a veteran is struggling with this, in the short term, I would recommend trying to go anyway. So trying to make some time to be connected to family and friends during the holidays and not completely avoid or isolate, because unfortunately that has the unintended consequence of maintaining a lot of those symptoms. The other thing I would say is that if you or a loved one that may be struggling with these kind of mental health concerns is to get help. The James A. Haley Veterans Affairs Hospital, as well as the Lakeland Community-Based Outpatient Clinic, have a wide range of mental health services. And really at this point, we want to make sure that everyone knows that PTSD, depression, anxiety, these are very treatable conditions. And we don't want people to suffer needlessly. And so while it may take a lot of effort to go out and get the help that you need, I can tell you it's well worth that effort to get that help.
I want you to go a little bit deeper into this. If a family member knows that, or a friend knows that a veteran has one of these conditions, there's always, from a veteran standpoint, there's always a stigma that you feel like that comes with it, and you think you can handle it.
Right.
But inspire the family member, the friend, or the veteran themselves to seek the help and take the steps that they need to really get right.
Right. So I would say a few things, because this is very important. If your family member is trying to talk to your family member and your friend or loved one who's a veteran, it can be very difficult reaching out for mental health services, and there is a lot of stigma. But I can also tell you that while that's very common, it's also not something that should stand in the way. because a lot of the things that veterans are dealing with, what they don't realize is that a lot of their friends are also dealing with. I can't tell you of the cases that I've worked with, high-ranking officers to enlisted, where they think they're the only ones going through it, and then come to find out when they talk to their friends after they've been in treatment that they say, oh, actually, you know, one of my buddies, he's somewhere in another state and he's getting help too. And I say, well, did you know about that? And they go, no, I had no idea. And so there's this misperception that, you know, if I'm dealing with it by myself, I must be the only one, only to find out that there's a lot of other people that may be having the same problems, but nobody talks about it. And so I would say if you're a family member, talk to the veteran. And if you're a veteran yourself that's dealing with this, know that it's certainly worth the effort, because I can give multiple examples where veterans who engaged in treatment were able to get their lives back.
Well, Dr. Croswell, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing the information today, and look forward to you coming back and talking to us again.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. It was my pleasure.
For more information on the James A. Haley Outpatient Mental Health Program, you can check them out on the web at www.tampa.va.gov. That's going to do it for this edition of Today's Veteran. I want to thank our guests today, Johnny Chestnutt and Dr. Kevin Croswell. But most of all, I want to thank you for joining us. Remember, for help and information regarding claims, benefits, and services available to veterans and their families, call the Polk County Veterans Service Office at 863-534-52220, or you can look them up on the website at polk-county.net. I'm your host, Bryan Lacey, filling in for Tim Kirkhart, and we'll see you next month.